Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Diane. Today I'm sharing with you my diary entry for the week of August 11th through 17th. I think that's right. Today is August 17th. I had to go back to work this week and it was not pleasant. It was not pleasant. In fact, this week was just terrible. It was terrible. But I was able to get some reading done. I did do a little bit of knitting, not too much. And then we are continuing to watch the Olympics on our streaming provider. So I'll talk to you about what we've been watching as well at the end. So let's get into it. So this week I finished 4 volumes of manga and I DNF'd 1 novel. The first volume of manga I have here in no particular order is volume 2 of 365 Days to the Wedding, story and art by Tamiki Wakaki. This one is published by 7 Seas, rated teen. So this story follows our 2 co-workers here on the cover. They work for a travel agency and they fake their engagement to get out of having to be nominated to open up the new branch of their travel agency in Siberia. So I really enjoyed this volume. I've already watched the live action adaptation and this follows very much to the T what happens in the adaptation. And yeah, really enjoying this. I think there's going to be an anime in October, so I'm really looking forward to that as well. Really cute story, and I'm looking forward to reading more of that. I have volume 2 of What He Who Doesn't Believe in Fate Says by Omura Rice. This one is published by 7 Seas, rated teen. So this one is about this guy here who can actually see the red string of fate, and he is interested in this girl here. They've been friends for a really long time, and he realizes that his red string of fate does not lead to her, so he is going to do something about that. At least I'm pretty sure that's the way the story is going to go anyway. This one was really interesting, this volume. Something definitely happens, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes of what happened in this one in the next volume. So still really enjoying this one. Also in this series, wherever the red string is shown, it is actually colored red. So it gives a little bit of that interest as far as all of the black and white in the panels. So I really appreciated that as well. Their friendship is really cute and I'm really enjoying the story so far. I also read volume 6 of Yakuza Fiancé. This one has story and art by Asuka Konishi, published by 7 Seas, rated older teen. So this story is about our 2 characters on the cover who are grandchildren of different Yakuza bosses. And the Yakuza bosses have been friends for a really long time. They agree to have their grandchildren marry in order to bring their gangs together. And so she ends up going to live with his family and is adjusting to her new life there, and they're getting to know each other. Of course, them being from Yakuza families has its dangers. They are not Yakuza themselves, but they have some Yakuza tendencies. Like, they have pretty short tempers and can be very combative, and their fighting skills are pretty good. So we're just kind of following these 2 getting to know each other. The relationship between them is progressing by this point of the story, but it's still not quite there yet. But they are definitely learning more about each other, learning about the things that they like to do, and meeting each other's family members. And so definitely enjoying that. And it can get mysterious at times because things happen within the story that is mysterious, and there's people that come after them and things. And so really enjoying this one as well. This one is going to have an anime in October also, I believe, so I'm looking forward to that. I haven't even told you what kind of ratings I've been giving these. 4 stars, really enjoyed that one. 4 stars, this one is really enjoyable also. 4.5 stars, I'm really enjoying that series. And then the last volume of manga that I finished, I just read early this morning, and that is Mao Volume 1 by Rumiko Takahashi. This one's published by Viz, rated older teen. So we are reading this one for the Monochrome Manga Club, and because this is one of the first in a series selections, I will not be telling you what my feelings on this are, because I will be filming a separate series first impressions video. And so you can hear what my thoughts are on this one next week, hopefully. But this one is a story, a portal fantasy, I think that's what they call it, about a girl who lost her family in a freak accident, and she was very injured, so injured to the point where she actually died, and they were able to bring her back to life. And then she finds this like portal to another time and ends up meeting this guy whose name is Mao, and he is like an investigator, but he has like supernatural abilities, and he's looking for the spirit that cursed him. I will let you know what I thought of this next week in my series First Impressions video, but I'm excited to talk about that one with my members at our meeting this coming week. So that brings us to the novel that I DNF'd. So I did DNF a novel this week. I DNF'd Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. So this is a story about a woman who has had something traumatic happen to her in her professional life. And she ends up going on this space mission with a team. And she goes in a professional capacity. So she's like a psychologist or psychiatrist, and she specializes in a form of PTSD called ERS or something like that. And it's something that can make people have manic episodes and like become murderous and harmful to themselves. So it kind of follows her going on this mission and trying to be a part of this team, but this team doesn't want her there, and they think that her profession is full of, BS, and they don't need her to be around. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I got to in this story. I have had an experience with S.A. Barnes' work before. I read Dead Silence last year, and I was so excited for it because it was like talked about as if it was a Titanic in space story. And while I got those vibes, it didn't play out as like scary or anything like that. I was kind of hoping for a real like haunted house type of vibe. And while there were some things that were like creepy, the story on a whole was kind of a letdown. I was able to get through it because of the interest in Titanic that I have, and I could definitely see how the ship in space could be similar to Titanic. But I wanted to give the author another try, because even though Dead Silence was only okay for me, I thought, well, maybe that's just not the type of story for me. And so I wanted to see with this one. And this one just didn't work for me at all. I had a really, really hard time concentrating on it. My mind kept wandering. I did listen to this one on audio. So that's kind of how I knew that I wasn't really like focusing in on what was going on in the story. A lot of the people in the story treat our main character poorly, and I didn't like that. In fact, the team that she gets assigned to, they kind of act like high school kids, kind of hazing her. And I didn't like that at all. And they have like prejudices, I would say, against her being there. And I feel like there's something else there that's in regards to her family background that could be coming into play in regards to that. But overall, the feeling of this story is just not for me. I didn't find any like creepiness to the story at all, and the storytelling is really, really jumpy. In fact, that's one of the things that I had an issue with in Dead Silence, is that we were doing a lot of back and forth between present timeline and past timeline in Dead Silence, and we're doing the same thing in this story. So it doesn't help with the fluidity of the storytelling for me, and it's kind of like filling you in on things that had happened in our main character's past. But I would have much preferred if it was all like a linear storytelling instead of them saying something and then there's a scene where it kind of fills us in as to what's going on with that. And I don't like that at all. And nobody in this story is very likable. In fact, I kind of got the feeling that our main character is attracted to one of the other characters, even though he treats her terribly, and I don't like that either. And so all of that combined, I was just like, you know what, this one is not for me. And so I gave it 30%. I got to chapter 10, and I said, you know what, it's just not for me, and that's okay. So I let it go. And so I don't think I will be trying any of S.A. Barnes' other works. Unfortunately, they're just not a writer for me, and that's okay too. And so instead, this will bring us to our what I am currently reading section. I started volume 2 of 86 in the light novel. This is by Asato, illustrated by Shirabi, and mechanical design by 1-4. So I read the first volume of this earlier this year. This is a kind of dystopian type story about a world where the members of the society have been broken up into 85 sectors, and they are fighting a war against this like artificial intelligent army of machine fighters known as Legion. And the government has come out and said that, you know, they were able to find a way to create machines to fight this war for them so that there are no casualties. But what the people of the society don't know is that there is an 86th sector, and the people in that sector are the ones that are fighting the Legion. And there are mass casualties of these 86. They call the people in the 86th sector 86. And so the story kind of follows this one team of fighters and their handler, whose name is Lena, and her kind of finding out about her prejudices, even though she thinks that she is a little bit different from other people in society. She realizes that she still holds some prejudices, and so it's about her learning about that, her learning about the members of the 86 that she is commanding, because she's like their technical, like in combat kind of helper. So she's like in the capital city, and she monitors their progress during fights and things from like computers and things like that, and it aids them in like ways to like evade attacks and attack positions and things like that. So she's real like technical in that aspect. But the first volume is very much about the handler getting to know the people that she's charged with, learning about her prejudices and trying to change her ways. And so this volume kind of follows what happened in the first volume. And I have watched the anime, both seasons of this series, really enjoyed this. I will say that if you've watched the anime, the things that happen in this volume are what is presented in season 2. Now there's a little bit of something that happens at the end of volume 1 that kind of makes going into volume 2 a little strange. I do feel like the anime better presented the story as far as the events of what happens in the story goes than how it's presented in this light novel. I feel like we're jumping around a lot in this light novel, and it feels like a more like, I don't know, summarized version of what happened. I feel like the anime definitely presented the happenings of what's in this novel much better as far as enjoyment for me, because it filled in some things and it moved some of the events and things so that it's much more of a linear storytelling, which I just mentioned to you about and Ghost Station wasn't happening. It's kind of, that same thing's kind of happening here, where we're kind of jumping around. So, like, we have in this story where something has happened, they're in a fight, and we're meeting characters during that fight, and then it goes back and shows you when our character here, Shine, meets that character, and then takes you through him getting to know that person. And so it doesn't feel very, like, smooth as far as storytelling goes. Thankfully, I've already watched the anime, so I know what, is going on. But I think if I was reading this for the first time, I would feel like it's too choppy, because I don't like going back and forth in timelines. But this very much follows what happens in the second season. There are beautiful pictures, and you can see there's some design here. That's the mechanical drawings of the fighting machines that our characters are operating, and then you've got character design of the characters within the story. So, like, more design here, and then we've also got, like, pictures of the characters like this. And so I really enjoy this story. It kind of gives the same vibes as Hunger Games a little bit, but there's definitely like a mecha war storyline as well. And I don't know, there's just something about this series that I'm really enjoying. So, not new material for me in this one yet, but I have been kind of combo reading this one. So I just started it a couple days ago. I'm already on chapter 4, page 115. So I listened to a good portion of it via audiobook, and I believe the audiobook is narrated by the voice actors that are actually voice acting in the anime. So that's really nice. And then I read a chapter physically this morning. Really, really enjoying this. I'm looking forward to continuing this one. It's going by too fast, if you ask me. Going by too fast. And then the other book that I'm currently in the middle of is Eruption by Michael Crichton and James Patterson. I started listening to this on audiobook, but it just didn't jive with me, and I couldn't speed up the speed of the narration because the narrator's voice seemed to be really strange when I sped it up. So I switched to physical copy. My mom bought this copy because she was really interested in reading it, and so that's why we have a physical copy. I'm not really one that enjoys hardbacks, but here we are. She really enjoyed this. I am on chapter 34, page 167, so I'm about there. Not quite halfway. But I'm going to read you what's on the back here because I don't want to give away too much. It says this is a history-making eruption is about to destroy the big island of Hawaii, and the U.S. military has made a terrible mistake that could mean the end of life as we know it. So we basically follow this dude who is a scientist. He studies volcanoes, and he's got a team, and a big volcano is expected to happen. But what he doesn't know is that the military is hiding a secret, and that secret could basically take out the population. And so they need to find a way to mitigate the damage a big eruption could have. And so we're kind of following this guy and his team trying to figure out how to do that. If you didn't know, I was born and raised in Hawaii. I spent a good portion of my life living there. And this book reads like a haole who has never lived on the islands has written it. So haole is a term that we use on the islands. It means foreigner. I'm having a really, really hard time with it because a lot of the things that are happening are so blatantly noticeable that this was not written by somebody who has lived on the island. Like, even just the conversations that the characters have with each other, the authors, and I'm not quite sure how much James Patterson had to do with this, but there's a lot of Hawaiian language being thrown in just regular conversation. And then when somebody responds with Hawaiian language, it's immediately followed up with what that means in English. And nobody in Hawaii talks like that. Nobody talks like that. I don't understand. It's like they're trying to flex or something. It really, really grates on my nerves every time I see that. Because that's not how people talk there. And people wouldn't say things to you in Hawaiian if they didn't think you would understand what they're saying. Plus the fact that outside of that, everybody speaks proper English in the conversations. And again, if you're a local, there's a lot of pidgin. Lots of people talk pidgin. We do speak, like, you know, in professional settings and stuff, regular, but most of the time you throw in pidgin here and there. Lots of people speak a lot of pidgin back home. And there's none of that in here. And it doesn't feel like it's set back home. Now, this is based on the Big Island of Hawaii. I have been there twice, but I was born and raised on Oahu. So maybe it's different. I don't think it is. But this does not read like home to me. This reads like someplace completely different. I don't like the use of all of the Hawaiian language that they're trying to throw in. This is not jiving with me for those reasons. And it says, to Hawaii's own, this story is dedicated to you, the people of the famed island chain. And I'm finding it very, very difficult to enjoy what's going on where this is set. Now, like, if this was set somewhere else where there's volcanoes, I think this would be a much more enjoyable story for me. But because it's so glaringly obvious that the people that are talked about in here aren't like locals in Hawaii, it's hard for me. It's very hard for me. And I know that this is a personal problem that I'm having. I don't know how anybody else who has either lived in Hawaii for a long time or was born and raised there or who still live there feel about this. I'm just not enjoying it. So I was telling my mom, I think that this is only going to get a 3-star for me because I am enjoying like the whole like volcano eruption, trying to mitigate that, and the whole thing about trying to like avoid something catastrophic from happening. But when we're talking about the people and the characters, it irritates me. It bothers me a lot. Yeah, I've read from Michael Crichton and James Patterson before and have enjoyed their work. But this is one of those things where I have personal knowledge of the place that they are talking about, and the things that I know about where I grew up are very different from how it's being portrayed here. So, yeah. I know this was one of those stories, or at least I think this was one of those stories that Michael Crichton's widow had found after he had passed. So I don't know how long ago he wrote what he wrote on this. I don't know how much of it was written by Michael Crichton or how much James Patterson added to it or changed. But, yeah, I'm having a personal problem with this. So I am going to finish it. I don't think this is going to be more than 3 stars. But it's very unfortunate because I love to read stories about where I grew up. But a lot of times they're just not portrayed very well. So this is one of those instances, and I'm sad. I'm very sad about it. So that's that one. I will probably talk to you more about those 2 books next week. We have our manga club meeting this week, and so yeah, I'll need to focus on those selections for the following week. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say about what I've been reading. And so let's get into the Yarnie update. So I only have one project to talk to you about today, and that is my Olympics socks. I finished one sock. And so here it is. This is the Umbrella Socks by Kay Jones. So I did put in the umbrella heel as an afterthought heel. So I basically just knit a tube down to the toe, did the umbrella toe, and then came back and cut in for the afterthought heel. And so, yes. Really, really like how this came out. It's got all of the colors of the Olympics. And so I was here where the ladybug was the last time I talked to you. So I did the rest of this and then the heel. I did not cast on my second sock yet. I know, really, really bad. But I just finished this one yesterday. And yeah, definitely will give me the memories of having worked on this during the Olympics this year. So that is great. So I will need to cast on and do my second sock. The yarn that I'm using for this is Lolo Did It's Witchcraft and Wizardry in her sparkle sock base. And I know that that silver stellina is not coming up on camera, but this is 75% merino, 20% nylon, and 5% silver stellina. This is one of her Harry Potter colorways, but it has all of the colors of the Olympics, and that is why I used it for my Olympics socks. And then for the heels and toes, Knit Pick Stroll Fingering in black. This is 75% merino or superwash merino and 25% nylon. This is also superwash. And so, yeah, really, really happy with how that came out. And I did try it on and it's fine. I don't really enjoy like afterthought heels. Like before, when I had done the umbrella socks pattern, I had used Roxanne Richardson's Insta Thought heel to like knit afterthought heels while you're knitting. So like when you came to the heel, you would like do this special technique and do what would be considered an afterthought heel, where it would be had you needed to cut it in. And I do kind of feel like that is better for me because it's not as fiddly. I don't have to go back and pick up stitches and stuff. It's all done while you're constructing the sock. And I find that it's much easier for me to do it that way instead of finding where your heel needs to be, picking up all the stitches, then cutting in, unraveling, and then knitting in your heel. I think it might also like fit better. I don't know. I've got another pair that I did that way, and for me that one fits better than this one. Now they both fit, it's fine. It's just like across the top of the foot there's a little less like give. It's not so tight that it's strangling my ankle, but I do feel like it's a little less, there's a little less give. And so yeah, that's why I don't do a lot of afterthought heels, because I don't like the way it fits compared to heel flap and gusset. But for me, with how these socks came to be, it only made sense that I would have done the afterthought heel. So that's why that one is the way it is. And so yeah, that is the only project I worked on this week. Like I said, work was not very nice to me when I got back to it this week. We have been continuing to watch the Olympics, so I've just kind of been winding down every night with the Olympics. We did watch the rest of the diving that we weren't able to watch while the Olympics was on, and then we started in on the archery and we finished that up last night. Archery is something that we've never really watched during the Olympics, so it was really, really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and it was really exciting, much more exciting than I thought it was going to be. So we really enjoyed the archery. And so we started with canoe race last night and really enjoyed that as well. So I think we're going to continue with that tonight. Yeah, work was bad. Got into a fight with the guy who used to be my boss about taking PTO that I've earned PTO earned is PTO. I mean, right? And I've barely taken any this year. And so for him to be like, oh, you're taking too much PTO, which is basically what he told me, and that I shouldn't be taking any more PTO. No, that is not how our employee handbook is written. And he is in a position where it's kind of weird because he used to be my boss, but he sold his business to a bigger company, and now we're being controlled by the big company. And so he's an employee now. He's not really my boss anymore. But he's trying to like have us be different from the rest of the employees of the bigger company. And that's just not how it is now. We have to be like the rest of the employees of the bigger company. And I guess he feels like he's losing control. But at the same time, that's what happens when you sell your business, right? So we got into a big fight. My stress level went straight back through the roof. And so my taking 2 weeks off to reduce my stress level pretty much was for nothing, because I could not get out of my mind the fact that he told me that he didn't want me taking my PTO. It made me really mad, as I think it should. I think I have a right to be mad about it. And so, yeah, I almost had to take it to HR. So I do have another vacation coming up in like a month's time or so. That's kind of what ticked him off, was that he felt like I was taking vacation all the time. And I barely took any up until this point of the year. We're past the halfway point already. But yeah, he started saying like inappropriate things to me, and I ended up fighting back, and it made my stress level go through the roof, and he finally backed off. But it was just a bad week. Like, that whole conversation tainted my entire work week, and I can't get out of my mind the things that he said to me. And so we'll have to see how it goes going forward. But yeah, I think it's illegal for him to tell me that I can't take my PTO that I've earned. But it hasn't come to that point yet where I'm not able to take it. So we'll have to see about when I take my next vacation, what happens. So anyway, that's kind of how my week's been. It's been bad. Like I said, vacation was pretty much for naught, because my stress level went right through the roof again when I got back. Like 1 hour into my work day is when that all started. And yeah, it just, yeah. There's a whole backstory to that I'm not going to air out, about what happened prior to him selling the business, and how, you know, we as employees had sacrificed for him. But I'm not going to air that out on this channel. But yeah, in light of all of the things that had happened in the past, all of the things I've done for the company in the past, and him telling me that this week, it just really hit the wrong nerve. And I've been like stewing on it ever since. So it's just been a bad week. I'm trying to get over it. Trying to look forward to my next vacation, which has been planned forever. And so, yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. But it looks like I'm not going to be able to take the vacation that I normally take annually. But we're just going to have to see what happens after the next vacation I take. So in any case, I'm just trying to calm down. Trying to calm down and do things that make me happy, and try to get my stress level down again. And so, yeah, it's been a bad week, but hopefully things will be better soon, and I can move past the things that were said to me. But it really, really got on my last nerve this week. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to relax some more this evening. I had some fun videos that I filmed this week about round robin wax melt exchange that I'm doing, and I got some friend mail from my friend Aubrey Chabert, and so I filmed those videos, and those brought me a lot of joy. And so, yeah, just gotta look for the little things, right? So let me know down in the comments below what you've been working on, what you've been reading, what you've been watching. Are you still watching the Olympics like I am? I really feel like there wasn't enough time to catch up with everything this year, with the way that my antenna wasn't working properly and having to watch commercials because I ended up catching up on the streaming service. The commercials took up a lot of time. But let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you've been working on, and if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me any color heart emoji, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. And that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.